Welcoming to the Undisputed Wrestling Show, we have the elite athlete, Mike Orlando. Mr. Orlando, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Not too bad. A little tired. I just got done training at the Monster Factory down in Paulsboro, New Jersey. So it was a big training session, so I'm a little wiped out.
Oh, well, did Danny Cage make you do a little too much today?
No, never too much. I mean, if we want to be great, it's never too much. But, I mean, it was definitely an intense workout. I mean, it was my first time there, so it was something for me to experience on a different end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's excellent. Let's see, was Meanie and Grey Wolf there?
Unfortunately not. No, Grey Wolf has been a friend of mine for years in the business, as a matter of fact.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, I'm one of the hosts. I'm the Bearded Wonder, Zane Paisley. Also on the line with us, we've got from NWA Blue Collar Wrestling, referee Sign Guy, and from Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, the incredible Huck, Will Huckabee. So thanks for joining us tonight. I'm going to shoot it over to the incredible Huck to ask the first question.
Absolutely.
Mr. Orlando, first of all, thanks for being on the show, man.
Absolutely. It's an honor to be on, to be honest.
Of course, we're going to get into the backstory of how you got into wrestling and everything. But you just mentioned, you was at the Monster Factory training with Danny Cage, who was one of the best trainers in the world. But you also worked at the Sanctuary.
Correct.
How was it being, how did you find yourself so lucky to be surrounded by so many great trainers in professional wrestling?
Oh, what was that again? I'm sorry, you broke up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, how does it feel to be surrounded by so many great trainers in professional wrestling? These guys are the movers and shakers in professional wrestling right now.
It's honestly something that's like, it's surreal because there's so many different flavors of ice cream out there, and everybody, has their own, favorite brand. And that's exactly what the whole thing with a good trainer is. There's so many good trainers out there, but especially being around Danny Cage and John Trotsky. John Trotsky being my main trainer. You learn a lot about a lot of different things and a lot of different people. And I think that's the hardest part to understand about wrestling because it's so much more than just talent and so much more than what you think you know. And being able to be blessed around the right people that can get you to the next step and the next level, it really opens a lot of doors for you. So to be surrounded by the best, it tries to make you strive to be better, if that makes sense.
Oh, exactly, definitely. Now, with that being said, let's just go ahead. Mr. Elite, college standout in several sports and stuff. How did you get into professional wrestling? When did the wrestling bug bite you, and what some of your early influences in professional wrestling?
I started in 2011. I had already started playing college football at the time, and it was on a whim, actually. Someone had challenged me and said I couldn't do it, and I went out there and tried to find a place to start wrestling. I was at Old Time Wrestling down in Glassboro, New Jersey, and I started wrestling there and kind of did it as a hobby. Let's call it that. Not that I didn't want to do it, but my entire life I wanted to wrestle. Better yet, I'm sorry. I never wanted to play football. I can't name 10 people in the NFL for you. It was always for a bigger reason, which was wrestling. And once I realized that I wasn't where I wanted to be with football, I kind of took my wrestling a lot more serious. And that was being down in Oakland for the Raiders in 2013 and kind of getting my ass kicked. And that was a reality check for me to realize that I wasn't working as hard as I should be. And I turned the engines on more with wrestling instead of, waking up with football any longer because it's not what I wanted to do. So I basically killed football for 5 years of college and won an NCAA championship, 2 captain reigns there. And it kind of made me want to do better with wrestling, which is hard, like I said before, because it's not about who's the best. Wrestling-wise, it's everything put together. And that's one thing I had to adjust to in the last 5 years. That's much different than college football.
All right. You already said that John Trotsky up there at the Sanctuary is your head trainer and stuff, or is your main trainer. How was it getting through training? Can you give us an example of how difficult it was for you to go from being a football player and being, as you would call, a hobby wrestler, or what they call in the business a weekend warrior, actually taking it serious working for John Trotsky, working at the Sanctuary, and eventually becoming the Sanctuary champion?
You mean like basically the adjustment from going from one to another on top of everything together, and then being where I'm at now compared to where I was, essentially? Is that what you're referring to? I'm sorry.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like, I mean, the most grueling part about everything was I would literally finish football practice at about 6 o'clock p.m., and I would get in the car and drive 3 hours to Glassboro from Elizabeth and go all night at training at wrestling, and then go back to Elizabeth by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, sleep till about 6, and then wake up for football practice. And that was, it was my life. I was so used to it at the time. But when I look back at it now, I have no idea how I did it, if that makes sense too. But I'm glad I did, because at this point where I am now with John at the Sanctuary, so I drive 4 hours to go see him. And I usually stay a day or two, and we go over a lot of different things that I need to get done in a lot of different aspects. But the balance between the two, I mean, football's a hard-hitting sport where you're always on your toes and ready to hit somebody, and wrestling is the complete opposite. So it was so hard for me to go from trying to protect Carson Palmer to going to protect my opponent from a super kick. And it's very, very different, and it's yet very similar. I mean, the aspects of the whole lifestyle are very similar, but yet very different. So the adjustment, it took me 5 years to get to this point. At this point, I still don't have a job with the WWE full time or anything like that, so I'm not kid Ted, so I don't think I have done very much yet, and I'm looking to do a lot more.
All right, you just said the lifestyles between, being a football player and being a professional wrestler are very similar. And we've had dozens of not only former professional football players, but of course, collegiate and arena football players on this show who've made the transition from playing football on many different levels to professional wrestling. But nobody's ever said, they've always talked about how the big difference is, but nobody said how similar the lifestyle is. Okay, so I got to ask, what's the similarities between being a football player and being a professional wrestler?
The lifestyle, meaning you're always in the gym. We have gym schedules twice a day in college, and you're always in the gym if you want to get better. There's a difference between wrestling and football in that sense. You don't really have a coach in wrestling. You have to do it on your own. Someone kind of wakes you up and kicks you into shape. With football, but there's definitely a similarity in the weight rooms. If you look at the NXT training ground and the way they train with WWE, it's a football locker room, essentially. You've got power cleans, you got deadlifts, you have bungee cords, you have all the things that we use to get better with football. That's definitely one of the biggest similarities. The athleticism, you always have to be able to be on your toes, always ready to go. Linebacker stance is something that really transitioned the most in wrestling, because you're always ready to go forward or backwards. And that's the same thing with wrestling. The wheels are always in motion, but you have to control them 1,000 times more with wrestling. Because it varies. With football, you're trying to hurt somebody. Wrestling, you're trying to protect somebody. So it's so hard to compare the two. But, I mean, unless you really went through them, you wouldn't understand it. I mean, but it's so hard to explain that the life itself, it's just you wake up, you eat, breathe, live football if you want to get to the NFL. And if you're missing any of those qualities, you're not going to get there. And the same exact rules apply to wrestling. If you eat, breathe, live wrestling, if you don't do those three things, you're not going to get where you want to be at the end of the day. So, I mean, the similarities really come in. The ball's in your court, and what are you going to do with it?
Well, I have no experience playing football at any level, really. I graduated high school at 5'2", 125, and then get to my size after I joined the military. But with that being said, passing on to somebody else who I'm pretty sure has no experience also playing football at any level, I'm going to pass it on to the deputiest referee in the Pacific Northwest, Sign Guy. Sign Guy, what do you have for Mr. Orlando?
Well, one of the questions I want to ask you, Mr. Orlando, is since you've played a lot of really competitive football, being a college athlete, then going into professional wrestling, one of the big topics in the last several years has been concussions, and there's been a lot of new information that has been learned on the long-term effects. A lot of people that played both football and went into professional wrestling have had a lot of trouble with concussions in the last 15 to 20 years. what do you think should be done, if anything, to try to help people at the independent level of professional wrestling safe as it relates to concussions?
We just lost our guest, so I don't think he heard that question.
I shocked him.
It was such a great question. It was such a great question, too, sorry, guy.
All right, why don't you try recalling him, Kev?
All right, here we go.
Did we get a drop call?
We did.
What happened?
I'll let Sign Guy restart his question. Did you hear any of it about concussions?
I got up to the part where he was comparing the two a little bit, but if you want to repeat from the middle on, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
I was saying, since you were in competitive football and then went into professional wrestling, since there's been a lot of new information about concussions and a lot of the people that did both football and professional wrestling have had problems the last 15 to 20 years, what do you think should be done, if anything, at the independent level in professional wrestling to keep people safe from the effects of long-term concussions?
That's an awesome question, actually. Protect yourself. That's the biggest bit of advice I can give everybody. When going into a match, it's that you only have one brain. When that's gone, it's done. Football absolutely ripped my head apart, and I'll be the first one to admit that. I mean, there were games that my head was ringing for hours, and that's not how wrestling should ever be. So my biggest advice would be, if you're not going into a match with somebody you know you can trust, always keep it simple and protect yourself as best as possible, and make sure that you don't do anything that's not necessary or doesn't make sense. Because at the end of the day, like I said, you have one neck, you have one brain. Concussions aren't something to mess around with. It leads to so many different stories of different things they could blame wrestling on, and it's just not something wrestling needs a stigma for anymore. And I just think that there's so many different options out there to take care of yourself too, where if you have a headache and you take the impact testing and all these different things, you can maintain a healthy lifestyle and still do what you want to do. But my biggest advice, again, would be protect yourself in any way you can when it comes to your head, because you only have one. And that's why I'm happy football's done with it, to be honest.
Being the elite athlete, I'm sure that you stay on top of some of the latest ways to train and to incorporate the newest technologies and the newest dietary trends into your regimen to maintain wrestling shape. What are some of the things out there right now that you see giving the best gains for wrestlers to maintain their shape, be it dietary or be it through working out?
Really, eat. Just eat. I mean, that's really the best advice I can give people. I mean, you're on the road a lot, so pack your meals. Don't be bringing, the ideas that I'm going to go to McDonald's on the road with you, because I don't think that's a good, meal ever, even if you are on the road. So if you eat all the proper meals, and if you're looking for a supplement, I would stay away from almost everything. Honestly, it's just, I don't think, if you want to get to the next level, there's so many different hoops and boundaries you're going to have to pass if you put anything bad in your body. And I don't know what's technically legal and not legal in TNC, because they get passed and then they get, banned a week or 2 weeks later. And it's just pure hard work. I think that's the best supplement you can put in your body. It's just, you literally wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym and just do something you haven't done the day before, and just eat, again, the proper way, and don't be drinking soda and sugar and all these different type of meals with it, because they don't mix well. It just, if you care about your body, I feel like it transfers to the wrestling ring a lot more than any supplement or anything anybody can give you.
Being up in the northeastern part of the country, you have a lot of different promotions up there. The states are a little bit more easier to navigate, going one to the next than they are up in my area in the Pacific Northwest. Do you think that being in the Northeast gives you a little bit stronger advantage as far as being able to advance your career in professional wrestling, or do you think it doesn't really come into play?
I think it's an advantage because I'm closer, but I don't think it's an advantage because there's so many different opportunities I've had out of the Northeast that have caused me to have to drive days in a car or sleep in the car or, take planes across the country to get to different areas for opportunities. So, yeah, it's more convenient for me because it's a more consistent base. But anybody that wants something is going to work for it at the end of the day, and they're going to go any leaps and bounds they're going to have to do to get to where they want to be. There's a lot of great places up here, but then you have places down south, like Florida with Evolve and Full Impact Pro, and they talk to me and they want me to come down for certain things, and I'm still building my name, and it's like, I have to work within a budget for myself and something they're going to work with me, and it's never an easy task, pull things off like that. And yeah, the New York scene and the New Jersey and the Pennsylvania are also good, but if you ask somebody down south how their scene is, they're going to think their scene is better than this scene, and it's just how it works. The same aspects applied with football. Every team thought they were the best team until they went out to the field and got their, behinds for a PG kicked on the field. So it's the same thing with wrestling. It's everybody thinks they're the best wrestling until you go out there and you're showed up by somebody else. And I think it's definitely more convenient that I'm here, but that's an open door that if anybody down south thinks they could, if they're better than that, then here's the door. It's wide open. Come up here and show us. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to pass things over to our other co-host, Zane Paisley.
Well, once again, thank you so much for coming on with us, the elite athlete Mike Orlando. Now, I'm on your Facebook page, and you've got tons of events coming up. How can our listeners follow and keep track of everything that you've got going on?
TheRealEliteAthlete.com. That's my main website. That's updated all the time. It has most of my matches that are coming up for the next 2 weeks always on there, I believe. I got to check with the guy that runs it if he updated it. Or if you go to Facebook.com/Elite Orlando, every week I post, if you add me as a friend, an update of where I will be that weekend and the next weekend, so you can always stay on top of it. At the Big Orlando on Instagram, I have a lot of ways of advertising what I'll be doing in that weekend. I try to incorporate a lot of advertising with everywhere I work because that's what people don't realize. It's not about just showing up somewhere and wrestling. It's about taking their brand and making it worth something to the world because now you're on it. And that's kind of what I try to do. So I try to put places on the map and try to make it more known to the fans. I want to advertise it heavy. So if you do follow me on any sites of social media or my website, you definitely will hear or find out where I'm going to go or where I'm going to be.
Well, and just perusing through your website, you've even got stickers available on the website. That's so cool.
Yeah, we have stickers, T-shirts, action figures are coming soon, which are awesome. We've got 8x10s. There's, I believe, these new light-up glow sticks that are reminiscent. I have a light-up robe now when I enter the ring, so they're going to be reminiscent of that. And then mouthpieces, football mouthpieces that light up green as well.
Yeah, I saw a picture of that. That's pretty stunning. That looks really cool.
Yeah, those are awesome. They're really cool, and the kids love them, which is cool too.
Well, and another thing that I saw on your Facebook page that I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a huge Zubaz fan, and I know that we share that in common.
Oh, yeah, man. They sponsor me. They're the greatest. I'm actually wearing a pair right now. They're the greatest company in the world. They just sent me a whole box of new pairs of pants for, I believe on Friday I got them. And they are the greatest pants in the world. I wear them everywhere. Sometimes I'll even wear them in matches if I'm really feeling special. And I really love to throw them around because it kind of is it's like a varsity jacket for a high schooler. The Zubas are like, we wrestle together. It's a little brotherhood thing. So it's really cool, to actually be a part of that. I'm glad you like them, man. I'm happy to know that. If I ever see you, I'll give you a pair.
Well, I've got several. I've got a gang of us called Beards and Zubaz. I'll send you a link so that way you can join our gang. But I did get
absolutely.
I did get Road Warrior Animal to pop for me when he saw me in them. So that was very cool. I'm actually my blue and white ones right now too. So we're cool together. So you had mentioned that you haven't achieved your dreams yet because you're not working full time for WWE. Is that where the end game is, or what's the next step for you, Mike Orlando?
I would love that to be the end game for me. But I am open to everything right now. I'm working with Ring of Honor in July for their seminar. I'll be working with Evolve in July again. I'll be working with I have recently had a TNA, I guess you could call it, Outlook, and that was when they were in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, a couple months back. And basically, I'm looking. My dream was the WWE my entire life, but I don't look at any place as a stepping stone to get where I want to be. I just look for opportunities. So anybody that's willing to work with me and make this a place where both of us can grow, that's exactly where the end game is going to be. And I'm hoping it's a WWE. I feel like that fits my criteria best, but my eyes and my ears are open to everybody, and it's not like a one-way path for me.
Well, that's excellent. Before we let you go, what do you have to say to your fans that are listening right now?
I really appreciate it because you guys are up super late on a Monday. That's what we are right now, Tuesday. On a Tuesday, my days get crazy with this training. To actually listen to me talk, and that means something. And even you guys that actually gave me a call, and it's like, okay, we're going to be on top of him because last time there was this, that, and the third, and it's like, wow, I finished training and I have guys that are ready, to be talking. It's a good feeling because you wonder what we're doing sometimes and where this is all going and who's listening and if it even matters in the long run. And it most certainly does matter when you do things like this. So basically want to thank everybody and thank you guys the most to actually take time out of your night to do this on a Tuesday night.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on with us, especially after a long day of training, and we wish you the best of luck. And anything that you want to promote, just give us a call and we'll get you back on.
Thank you so much, man. Absolutely. I would love to do it.
All right. Thank you so much. The elite athlete, Mike Orlando, and you can find him at www.therealeliteathlete.com, and it's got all of his social media sites on there, so make sure to check that out. Thanks so much, Mr. Orlando. Have a great evening.
You too, man. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Sign Guy Will. Fun episode. We had Mr. Cruz. Man, made me feel bad about my own voice, and was a wealth of knowledge. And the elite athlete, Mike Orlando, was